What are mans? It's Taco Mans. Today I'm going to show you my new Wawona 6-person tent from the North Face. I'm going to go through the setup process, talk about its features, and give my review. Let's talk about it. Starting with the stuff sack, it shows the name Wawona 6 right on the side. The stuff sack comes with a large cinch at the top and some carry handles. This tent does not come with a footprint, they sell that separately. Their website also claims it weighs 20 pounds 15 ounces or 9.5 kilograms. Inside we have the tent body, the rainfly, a gray pole with pre-bent angles, a straight gray pole, 2 yellow poles, and a bag for stakes and guy lines. This tent is easier to set up with a friend, but I did it alone to demonstrate that it can be done. It took me about 10 minutes to do alone, but we're going to speed through it. I started with the 2 yellow poles, which form the main X structure for the tent. I had to feed them through the sleeves, then insert them in the grommets. Once that was done, I installed the clips onto the poles and the tent began to take its shape. Next, I used the straight gray pole and inserted it into the gray sleeve and 2 grommets on the sides, which created the high arch for the door. Next, it's time for the rainfly. It's pretty easy to orient because the portion that goes on the tent is short as it only covers the mesh area. Once the back of the rainfly was properly attached, I used the last gray pole which has the bends. I fed it through the gray sleeve and attached the grommets and clips. This creates the shape for the large vestibule. Then I staked out all the guy out points all around the tent, and that's basically it for the setup process. Like I said, it's easier if you have a friend, but it's pretty manageable to do alone. It also helps that the poles are color-coded with the sleeves. Yellow poles for the main tent body and gray poles go on the gray sleeves. And the nylon straps are color-coded as well. I also noticed how much thicker the pole diameter and clips are compared to smaller tents I've used in the past. The quality seems really strong and robust. At the back of the rainfly, it uses this O-ring type of clip to attach to the tent body. To finish setting up, I normally open up the vents, one on each side. Also, the 2 vestibule doors. And lastly, the 2 large windows. But I was expecting rain later that night, so I decided to keep them closed. The back of the tent also has a door/window. Unzipping the first layer exposes the window. Unzipping the second layer gives you access to the tent. Before we move inside, let's start with the vestibule, and it is huge. You can fit a small dining setup inside, a cooler, even a shoe rack, and there's still tons of space. There's also 3 gear loops right at the front of the vestibule, so there's plenty of areas to hang lights or other gear. Moving on to the door, there's a large D-style door that rolls all the way up once you unzip it. You can clip it to the top to keep it open. Once inside the tent, I can stand straight up. Here's a full panoramic view of the interior of the tent. It is huge, which is the theme of this tent. It feels like a small bedroom. The dimensions of the floor are 96 inches wide and 120 inches long. Here are the 2 large windows that are great for airflow and sunlight. Between the windows, there are 4 large mesh gear pockets. I'm able to put a pair of pants and a packable vest, and there's still so much room for more gear. Down below, we have the door/window, which also has 3 large square gear pockets. Again, plenty of room for more gear. And if you think that's not enough space, by the front door, there are 2 more large pockets, one on each side. I put a full-sized cotton hoodie in this one. As for gear loops, there's 2 of them at the back of the tent, right between the 2 large windows. There's another one at the apex of the ceiling, and then another 2 by the front door. So there's plenty of space for hanging gear. Alright, let's get to my review. I'll start by saying I love every tent I own. There's a reason why I own them, and this tent is no exception to that, and I'll tell you why. The first reason is the large vestibule. The North Face website even explains that the large vestibule makes it feel less like a tent and more like a home, and I couldn't agree more. When getting in and out of the tent, having all this extra gear space feels very luxurious. Another great thing about that is if it's raining out, you don't need to put a tarp up. You can have a small dining setup right under this vestibule and stay dry from the rain. The second reason I love this tent is basically the same as the first, and it's the interior space is so large. Now I'm definitely not using this for 6 people. I'm using this tent for 2 people, including myself and my dog, which may sound overkill, but for this type of car camping setup, I like to use cots with legs. So it's a very comfortable, glampy type of setup. I do like backpacking as well, so there's a time and place for comfort versus roughing it out. If you're looking for comfort, this is definitely the tent to use. It may sound obvious, but the best perk to all this vertical space is no more crouching. Whether I'm changing clothes, entering the tent, or getting into my sleeping bag, Everything can be done without crouching down onto the floor. The third reason I love this tent is subjective, but I'm a big fan of the colors and geometry used for this tent. It just visually looks nice. The sun and shadows on the orange nylon create a warm and bright aesthetic. Now I just got this tent and I've used it on 2 trips so far. On the most recent trip, temperatures reached below freezing overnight and it was really cold in the tent. That being said, this tent is not meant for colder temperatures. There's a lot of mesh and airflow to this tent. However, that didn't affect us too much since we used a buddy heater and had winter sleeping bags as part of our setup. So if you're a beginner camper, this is more ideal for summer. So who's this tent for? The Wawona 6 is definitely great for many campers, but if you want space and luxury, this tent is for you. If you're not using cots and sleeping on the ground, you can have 4 to 6 people fit inside for sure. Maybe not 6 adults, you may feel cramped, which kind of goes against the whole idea of this tent in my opinion. Maybe if you're a family consisting of 2 parents and 2 to 4 kids, I think this tent would be great for you. Or if you're more like me and you want to use cots, I would say this is good for 2 people max, plus a dog. It's also not difficult to set up, so it's great for beginner campers as well. Overall, I think this tent will serve me well for future car camping trips. If I'm camping with my partner and my dog, this will definitely be the tent I'm bringing. If you're watching this video, you're probably considering getting this tent. Hopefully this video helps you decide, is this tent for you? If so, what made it right for you? If not, what turned you away? Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, and vibe. Catch you on the next Taco Man's out. Peace.
But babe,